and market Zantac, which would become the world's best-selling prescription drug. Black probably created more shareholder value than any other man in post-war British business. But his motivation was to pursue chemistry, not profit. He left ICI, he told me, because his interests were in furthering his research, not helping to market his discoveries. I used to tell my colleagues at ICI that if they wanted profits, there were many easier routes than drug research. How wrong could I have been, he told me, and went on. I call it the principle of obliquity. Goals are often best achieved without intending them. Black died 2 days before the first British edition of this book was published. I hope it is not presumptuous to dedicate this American edition to a British scientist whose modesty was as remarkable as his talent. Chapter 1. Obliquity. Why our objectives are often best pursued indirectly. I never indeed wavered in the conviction that happiness is the test of all rules of conduct and the end of life. But I now thought that this end was only to be attained by not making it the direct end. Those only are happy, I thought, who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness, on the happiness of others, on the improvement of mankind, even on some art or pursuit, followed not as a means, but as itself an ideal end. Aiming thus at something else, they find happiness by the way. John Stuart Mill, Autobiography. Visionary companies pursue a cluster of objectives, of which making money is only one, and not necessarily the primary one. Yes, they seek profits, but they're equally guided by a core ideology, core values and sense of purpose beyond just making money. Yet, paradoxically, the visionary companies make more money than the purely profit-driven companies. Jim Collins and Jerry I. Porras, Built to Last. He is in this, as in many other cases, led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of his intention. By pursuing his own interest, he frequently promotes that of society more effectually than when he really intends to promote it. Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lies. Emily Dickinson. The American continent separates the Atlantic Ocean in the east from the Pacific in the west. The route of the Panama Canal follows the shortest crossing of America. When you arrive at Balboa Port on the Pacific coast, you are some 30 miles to the east of Cologne, where you left the Atlantic. The best route follows a southeasterly direction. The shortest straight line running from east to west goes through Nicaragua, and this direct route is much longer. The people who first found this route weren't looking west, and they weren't looking for oceans. Keats attributed the find to stout Cortez, when with eagle eyes he stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with a wild surmise, silent upon a peak in Darien. Balboa, not Cortez, was actually the first European to see the Pacific, but Keats had the right general idea. The way to the ocean was found by conquistadores who sought silver and gold, not oceans. Not only was the route oblique, but so was the means of its discovery. The problem of finding the best traverse of America is easier than most problems we face in business, politics, or our personal lives. We have almost complete knowledge of the territory, and it doesn't change, or doesn't change much. The warming of the Arctic seas may make the Northwest Passage a navigable route, enabling ships to sail routinely from Atlantic to Pacific without using a canal at all. In the meantime, however, the best route will remain the Panama Canal. Ships go eastward in order to reach their western destinations more quickly and economically. They follow a trajectory that is oblique. Obliquity describes the process of achieving complex objectives indirectly.